I am here with Stuart Smith from Ogilvy, is it domain leader of PR? Is that what we call you still?
I'm the executive partner of the Ogilvy Group, and I'm the global leader for PR and influence.
Okay, excellent. But most importantly, for the purposes of this interview, you are also the president of the 2018 PR Lions jury.
I am the 10th, actually, the 10th jury.
And I've been at all 10 press conferences, and I have to say I thought you handled yours well. It was helped by the fact that we didn't actually have any questions from the media, but that's probably a separate conversation.
But the PR Lions did celebrate press freedom. They did celebrate incarcerated journalists, and they did celebrate some very clever ways of getting messages into countries where censorship is difficult.
That's good to know. It's a shame that that mindset wasn't kind of extended to the press briefing. But anyway, not your fault. Not blaming you. Let's talk about the PR Lions this year. How did you find the judging? Was there a lot of arguments in the room? Did you find yourself having to adjudicate between people from different nations?
It's really interesting. I say this with all sincerity. The people I had in the jury room were absolutely amazing. I think I couldn't have asked for a better bunch of people who really took the responsibility seriously. They were highly ethical. They excluded themselves even when they didn't potentially really strictly, according to the rules, need to be excluded. And they all were very respectful of the work of each other. So I couldn't have asked for a better jury. It gave us much more space to talk about the work and less time arbitrating arguments.
Sounds a bit dull.
No, because the work was amazing. I mean, the tricky bit for us was when we first came into the room, we weren't entirely sure that we had really strong goals or even a Grand Prix. But when we sat down and talked about the criteria, we did 2 or 3 things. One, we absolutely decided that the idea was at the heart of everything. I think you've heard me say before, Arun, that so for me, the most important part of this was we sat down and talked about the criteria. We wanted creativity to be at the heart of everything. We talked about what is PR, but we talked about it very briefly and very productively. We decided that for us, for the purposes of this jury this year, that actually we were looking for ideas that really earned media, earned attention, and earned influence. But also ideas that didn't just earn noise. We didn't want ideas that just broke the internet or where social influencers went mad. We wanted to see purposeful design of public relations craft into the idea, irrespective of where that idea came from. And obviously we don't know that until we get way into the process. We don't know where the ideas have come from until day 3.
Right.
But we also wanted very clearly to see that our discipline was represented in the way the idea was crafted, the way the content was created, the way the experience was designed, and actually, how the impact was generated.
Okay, so for yet another year, I guess, the PR industry is unable to win the top prize in the category which bears its name. I think it did better than last year in that I think there was one Gold Lion winner led by a PR agency, which was Flashman Hillard, and I think another Gold Lion winner had a PR agency involved as the sort of PR execution specialist. What does it say about the industry that it's unable to win? I mean, the feeling was by now the PR industry would have figured out how to win PR Lions and would be dominating the winners. That hasn't happened.
It's interesting. I mean, I think there are 2 really simple answers. One is, this is the 10th year. So in the very first year there were around 480 entries overall, and about 28 to 30% of those were from PR agencies. 10 years later, 2,100 entries, and only 10% are from agencies that self-identify as public relations agencies. So in that period, 80 extra PR agencies or 80 extra entries are coming from PR, and in the same period, 1,000, 1,200 extra entries are coming from agencies that don't self-identify as PR. We've got to be in it to win it. Part of this is a numbers game. If we're not in it, we can't get judged. For me, that's the first priority. So perhaps it's a failure of the industry to understand Cannes, perhaps it's a failure of Cannes to really engage the industry, but I don't think it's a failure of PR at a creative level. It's just a failure of mathematics.
Does it worry you or not that some of the work we're seeing winning in PR has no PR agency involvement, which suggests that CMOs perhaps are quite happy going to their ad agency for everything.
I think you would know this because I'm from Ogilvy, that I think that we are seeing the walls melting and convergence happening. I think it is basically true that the truth that is sneaking up on us is that there's never been more interest in public relations, earned influence, earned media. There's never been more interest in what we do from CMOs, or in why what we do works. I think you described it, and you said the industry is in rude health. But actually, the discipline is in rude health, but actually the people who are doing what we do are not necessarily all within the organisation or the industry that would self-identify as public relations. It is true that if you look inside Ogilvy, you look inside JWT, if you look inside other advertising agencies, as we would describe them, there are people who are coming up with some ideas that are absolutely astonishingly good at earning attention, earning influence, and earning media. For me, however, the very best ideas are the ones where you can clearly see that there has been a hand of a PR person involved, either in optimising the idea for earned influence, in developing content that's truly engaging, that doesn't necessarily need paid to distribute it, or in an ideal world where the PR agency or the PR person has been intimately involved in crafting the idea. So I think we're going from being distributors to content creators to ideators. We have to make that leap. If we don't become ideators, then we won't be turning up at Cannes and winning those goals.
And the risk is the industry is perhaps not investing enough in becoming ideators.
Yeah, I think everyone's struggling. I think we've got traditional standalone PR agencies trying to embrace more creativity. We've got traditionally creative agencies trying to embrace public relations and the arts and science of what we do. Everyone is finding their way. I'll be honest with you, I think agencies often lead clients in bouts, and then clients lead agencies and agencies lead clients. We're in a situation now where the marketing playbook is completely and utterly broken. Everyone is trying to figure this out, as the Americans would say. I don't think anyone owns the right idea, but the people who own the people who will own the future are the people that invest in the right kind of talent and the people that rewrite that playbook.
Let's talk a little bit about the winner, Trash Isles. Great idea, obviously. Could you talk at all about the results that it generated and why those stood out?
Yeah, I mean, the trouble with results is you get a little bit blind to results. There's two things for those watching that maybe don't know. You're watching a film, and to be honest, to win Cannes, the film's got to have some impact. A 2-minute case film. But obviously, when you're getting down to awarding the golds and awarding your Grand Prix, you're going through and you're reading a written entry in quite a lot of detail. And we really, as we got closer and closer to the golds, we were moving on not just from the ideas and the strategy and the execution. We wanted to really see impact as we got to golds and certainly to the Grand Prix. You know, this was a piece of work which took what we would call an orphan environmental idea. The problem has existed for decades. They took the orphan idea, they found an insight which was beautiful. There was an island of trash the size of France. They took that insight and they turned it into a creative idea. The creative idea was so big, if it's the size of France, it's time it became its own nation. Oh, well, how do we make a nation? Well, we go to the United Nations, there must be some rules about how do you gain nationhood. So they went and they played around with that idea. They generated a conversation, taking those 3 ingredients, they generated a conversation that went absolutely globally. And I think it's contributed to this year being the year of concern about pollution in oceans.
Do you think that the results of the campaigns you saw shows that the industry, the PR industry, is getting to grips with creativity as a core currency?
That's a really good phrase. Core currency of creativity is absolutely what the whole marketing communications industry has got to move towards. It doesn't matter whether you're a data-led agency, a media-led agency, or anyone. I'll give you a good example. You know, I was recently in a media pitch where everyone was discussing, you know, how much money we could save on the media pitch. We would win if we could show 10% savings. And I sort of put my hand up and I said, look, here's an interesting thought. Can I just show you some ideas? So I showed them some films of things that we've done at Ogilvy, things that have been done in the world. I said, look, every one of these ideas earned $10 million to $15 million worth of media. You're talking about giving your client $10 million worth of media savings. Let's put creativity at the heart of this pitch, and let's say we want to generate media value, not media savings. And just by thinking like that, creativity becomes a very different tool. The other thing is I think the industry is getting to grips with different types of creativity. If you said creativity, it's a bit like tomato, tomato. You say media to a PR person, they think journalist. You say media to a person from the media agency, they think a buy. It's all about language, creativity in the insights. When you show insights to a PR person, they see something completely different to what a fantastic creative who understands TV see. If you show data to a PR person and show it to a planner, they'll come up with different thoughts. So I think it's creativity in actually collecting data, it's creativity in analysing data, it's creativity in thinking about strategy. It's not just to change what you say, it's to change what you do. It's creativity in the content. It's not just about creating content on megalithic timescales. How do we create content that is quick and fast and can insert itself into the cultural zeitgeist? And then finally, that basically completely opens up the definition of creativity. And at the moment, I think everyone's using that word, and everyone is meaning something different. But there's one person that knows exactly what they want, and that's the client. They want a really good creative idea that's going to be born out of brilliant insights, executed in the real world, in what I would call an earned first world.
Stuart, thank you very much.
Thank you.